What if the strangest, most mind-bending rules of modern science could actually give us a whole new way to look at some of the oldest questions of faith? Well, in this explainer, we're going to explore the really surprising parallels between quantum physics and some core ideas in Christian theology.
So that's the big question we're tackling. Can the bizarre rules of the subatomic world offer us a new language, a new set of metaphors, really, for thinking about these timeless concepts like creation, humanity's fall from grace, and maybe even the nature of God itself?
Okay, let's be really clear about something before we dive in. We are not trying to prove faith with science. That's not the goal. The idea here is to build what you might call a conceptual bridge. Think of it like we're using the language of quantum mechanics as a brand new lens to look at some incredibly ancient spiritual ideas.
So let's start right at the beginning, shall we? With the account of creation in the book of Genesis. We're going to look at this ancient story, but through our new quantum lens.
You know, in quantum physics, a tiny particle doesn't have a definite location or a state until you actually measure it. Before that moment, it exists as something called a wave function, which is just a fancy way of saying it's a cloud of pure potential, containing every possible outcome, all at once. It's not here or there. It's kind of everywhere it could be, all at the same time.
Now, think about this famous line from Genesis chapter 1, verse 3. The story says the universe exists in a state of potential. It's formless and empty. And then a divine command, a word, acts like a trigger. In our metaphor, that command is what collapses the wave of pure potential into an actual observable reality, light.
Okay, so the Genesis story continues with this absolutely pivotal event, humanity's choice and its consequences. An event that's often called the fall. And believe it or not, this is where things get even more interesting from a quantum perspective.
Okay, I want you to imagine a traffic light that is somehow both red and green at the exact same time. That's kind of what superposition is like. For a quantum particle, it means being in multiple places or states at once. It only picks one definite state, red or green, the moment it's measured or observed.
So before the fall, the story in Genesis suggests a state of being that's totally outside our normal linear concept of time. It describes this reality of just pure communion with the Creator, full of endless potential, a lot like a quantum system in superposition before it's been measured.
Then you get this verse from Genesis chapter 2, verse 17, and it presents this critical boundary. The choice to cross it is an act of conscious observation. It's a measurement, if you will, of good and evil, and it's a choice that's going to force the whole system out of its state of pure potential and into one single, definite reality.
So theologically, that one choice acts just like a quantum measurement. It collapses that timeless state of infinite potential into the single, linear, cause and effect reality that we all experience as history, a reality that is now defined by mortality.
So if the fall can be seen as introducing some kind of fundamental error or corruption into the system, then the next logical question has to be, how do you fix that error?
And get this, the connection here is just remarkable. The ancient Hebrew word for sin, chatath, literally means to miss the mark. I mean, what a perfect metaphor for noise or corruption getting into a clean signal. And on the flip side, the Hebrew word for salvation, Yeshua, means to restore to health, which is exactly what an error correction code does for corrupted data.
This leads us right to this central idea in John chapter 3, verse 16. The error correction, according to the theology, can't come from inside the corrupted system. A new, uncorrupted code has to be introduced from an outside source. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, to restore the whole system.
All right, so this brings us to one of Christianity's most profound and, let's be honest, baffling mysteries. A concept that seems to completely defy logic itself, the Trinity.
The central paradox of the Trinity, one God but three distinct persons, it has this really striking parallel in the quantum world. I mean, modern physics has forced us to accept that at its most fundamental level, reality just doesn't play by the rules of our everyday experience. So if we use these quantum metaphors, we can frame the question a little differently. Is the Trinity like a single divine wave function that just has three equally real observable states? Or is it more like three entangled particles where each one is distinct, but their fates are so intertwined that they act as one single, inseparable system?
And as we see right here, in this verse from Matthew 28, verse 19, this idea of unity in plurality is absolutely foundational. It even shows up in the Old Testament. One of the earliest Hebrew names for God, Elohim, is actually a plural noun, but it's almost always used with singular verbs, hinting at this mystery from the very beginning.
So after building this bridge between these two very different worlds, what's the ultimate takeaway here? What should we walk away with?
Well, we've built a conceptual bridge. We've seen how these incredibly modern quantum concepts can serve as this powerful new language to re-examine and maybe even better appreciate these ancient theological ideas that have fascinated and puzzled thinkers for thousands of years.
So the crucial point is this. This is not about reducing God to a physics equation. Not at all. It's about recognizing that our most advanced science and our most ancient faiths are, weirdly enough, both pointing in the same direction, towards a reality that is profoundly mysterious, complex, and way stranger than our everyday senses tell us.
And maybe that shared sense of wonder is the most important bridge of all. Both paths, science and faith, they ultimately lead us to the very edge of what we know. And they force us to just stand in awe of a reality that is far deeper than we can imagine. And what that hidden reality is trying to tell us, well, that's a question worth thinking about.
This conceptual bridge was presented by Armin Rafir.